The next question will start with Mr. Pallmeyer. How will you ensure that our country and our government will embrace a clear and effective response to the climate change crisis, and what will that response look like?
Well, please go to my website, www.mostimportantdecade.com. And again, that's a takeoff on Jim Hansen, the lead environmental scientist. Stand up, people want me to do that. Who says, again, the decisions that we make in the next 10 years will determine the quality of life for all future generations. It's not an exaggeration. It is the greatest challenge facing humanity today. And what we need to do is we have to cut those carbon emissions by 90%. We need to do it probably by 2030. That means a strong emphasis on conservation. It means a strong emphasis on efficiency. It also means building rail systems throughout the state so that we put in place public policies that make it possible for us as citizens to do the right thing environmentally. Meaning we don't need to depend upon our private automobiles as much. We need to declare a goal, a national goal, of reducing gasoline use in this country by 85% in 10 years. We could do that with conservation and some of the things I just mentioned, and electric plug-in hybrids. What I want to stress to you is that this issue is absolutely vital and urgent. It is also an incredible opportunity to enhance the quality of our lives. We can be building the windmills that we need to put up. We can put the solar panels and produce those here. I propose that we eliminate poverty in the state of Minnesota at the same time that we set about retrofitting all of our existing buildings to be 90% more efficient. There are many, many positive steps that we can take, but I want to tell you, honestly, the steps we are taking so far as states, let alone the federal government, aren't even close to what is required. But we can do it. We can do it.
Thank you. 80% reduction of global warming by 2050. Shift the gas and oil subsidies to renewable electricity and fuels. Have a renewable energy standard, 20% by 2020. Conservation. What we did in our law firm is we bought wind-generated electricity. Saved 190,000 gallons of gasoline. The emissions that would arise from 190,000 gallons of gasoline a year. This one small firm. So conservation is exceedingly important. Wind and solar, cellulosic. Jack talked about jobs. This is an unbelievable opportunity for us to create middle-class jobs in this country. The technology is phenomenal. We have to invest in it and encourage investment in it through our tax policies. Now, this is what I've said about the tax code, which needs a dramatic revision. We had to look at it through the eyes of the middle class and start saying, what is going to benefit the middle class in this country? Conservation is going to benefit. It will create jobs. And finally, it's a national security issue. We're already seeing defense analysts coming out with predictions of if global warming continues to the degree it is, we're going to see massive displacements of populations in countries. And it's going to call for brute force to come in the way we are in Iraq right now. So we're either going to pay later in terms of blood and lives, or we're going to pay now and benefit this nation and this world by leading. America can do it. We've got the creativity, the imagination, we've got the resources, and we've got the people who want to do this. All we're lacking right now is leadership in Congress to get it done.
This is an absolutely urgent matter, and it has to be addressed. And what I really resent about this administration is that it actually hid the scientific proof. One of the things I'm going to do when I go to Congress is to write a law saying that no political appointee can change the language in a scientific report without first getting the okay of the scientists. Now, there is no silver bullet to global warming. There is silver buckshot, and it is renewable energy. It is ethanol. It is cellulosic ethanol after, that'll take a few years to get to. It is wind. We're the 9th windiest state in the country. We can reinvigorate our manufacturing base by building wind turbines here in St. Paul, Florida. It's also conservation. Dick Cheney said that conservation is a nice personal virtue, but it's not an energy policy. It is an energy policy. We need CAFE standards, fuel efficiency standards in Detroit. We need rail. We need light rail. We need commuter rail. We need to encourage biking, for goodness sakes, like they do in Europe. This is an urgent problem, and it is a crisis, but a crisis is also an opportunity. And it's an opportunity to create high-tech jobs. It's an opportunity to preserve our environment, to address global warming, and to increase our national security, and to help our balance of payments, for goodness sakes. We have to do this. Now, we need cap and trade. We need to do that in our country. That is the #1 thing we need to do, carbon dioxide cap and trade. But even if we get to a 0 carbon footprint in this country, it ain't gonna be any good if China and India are doubling theirs. So this is an international problem. Global warming is an international problem. And we have to be creating the technologies that we can export to China and to India, because they know that.
You know, after these 3 answers, with which I agree, I want to simply say ditto, ditto, ditto. Because I think all of the suggestions are ones with which we agree as panelists, as candidates. And I don't, as the audience, assuming that you heard each of them, I think all of the candidates have presented a mixture or buckshot that really needs to be done in this country in order to address this issue. Just 3 quick things to add to it. First, global warming is still considered by some people to be a hoax by paid people in order to ensure that corporate greed is continued. The very first thing we need to do is recognize that global warming is not a hoax. It's a scientific fact. The need to reduce it is not simply with all of the practical solutions that I think have been very thoughtfully presented, but also to say this is a moral dictate, not just something that we can do, but that we absolutely need to do. 2, I've been an environmental activist and advocate for much of my professional life. I think I understand much of this issue. I know how to work with the environmental and other communities. I've sued the American Electric Power Company to prevent it from building the largest hydroelectric facility in the world in Brumley Gap, Virginia, that would have cut out over 65 families and inundated the valley. I know that we need to do this on a solution that gets beyond the partisan bickering, takes a look at the common sense solutions, and works with everybody involved, because this is in our national security interests, and it is urgently needed. And I know how to do that, and I believe finally that we can do this through market-based incentives, government-mandated fuel efficiency standards, and major appliance standards. We need to do this as a full package, and when we do, we'll be making this world a better place for all working men and all working women and all families throughout here and the rest of the world, and we have that obligation.
Thank you all.